Look at this. I've never seen one of those before. It looks just like an English muffin, one that's been pressed down with a spatula in a cast iron pan, because that's the way we do it. Well, doesn't that just make a guy want to have a breakfast sandwich? Hey folks, I want to take a moment here right off to clear up some misconceptions about us moving south. In my last video, you saw Lori and I were cutting and splitting firewood down on the hillside, and then I was putting a stack right here. And in that video, I said, I thought I was pretty clear about it, that remember a couple years ago when Lori and I were clearing the hillside over here with the idea of building our new cabin there? We had taken down quite a few trees, opened up an area for a cabin, and you saw us cutting all of that firewood and stacking it up in 4-foot lengths, and there was quite a bit of it. And we've been utilizing that wood a little at a time. And in the video I said, I want to go back and retrieve the rest of it before it exceeds its sell-by date. And what I meant by that is it's going to go punky and go to waste, and we don't like to waste anything. So we're getting it, and in the video I said I'm putting a big stack here where the garage is, where my woodworking shop is, and putting a smaller stack up at the camp. And then in my comment section there was a lot of comments saying, oh, does this mean you're not moving south? I guess you're not going to New York now? I guess you're not going to Montana? And a lot of comments like that. And I was like, no, what that means is I want to gather the firewood before it goes to junk. So I never ever talked about selling my garage here, and this is where my woodworking shop is, and I have a wood stove here, and when I am here in the wintertime I'm going to want to be warm, so I have my firewood here. I also put a stack up at the camp up on the mountain. We talk about selling the camp. It hasn't hit the market yet. And what if it doesn't sell and we are here? I'm still going to go up to the camp. Hunting season's around the corner. I'm going to be there hunting, and I'm going to want to stay warm. So I put firewood there. And if we do sell it, so what? I sold it with some firewood. It doesn't mean that we're not going through with any of our plans. So I want to touch base on this moving south thing. Back in the spring, I posted a video talking about us doing some traveling to the corner where Virginia, Tennessee, and North Carolina meet. After posting that video, I got a lot of comments saying that we were moving south. I even had people unsubscribe because we were moving south. So I went back. I'm a human being. Sometimes things fly out of my mouth before my brain had time to process it. So I went back to watch the video to see, did I say that we were moving south? And the way I interpreted what I said was, we have talked for many, many times about going someplace warmer for part of the winter. We don't want to go someplace tropical, but those 60 and 70 degree temperatures where you have bare ground and you can go hiking and kayaking on some rivers and stuff sounds very, very appealing and more interesting than shoveling snow. It may turn out that we really like the area and want to live there permanently. It may also turn out that we may never want to visit it again. When we do go traveling, we're just going to go for a portion of the winter. And I just wanted to clear that up once and for all. Now I know it might get confusing at times. Our journey might be a little hard to follow. And the reason is because the majority of the world lives to a fairly strict schedule. Monday through Friday, they do the same thing, and that's great if it works for them. But it doesn't work for me. It never has. I like to live more spontaneous. And now, as Lori and I are plunging into retirement age, we want to just live unencumbered and have some freedom. And that's what we have been doing. We'll be up at the New York cabin for a few days, enjoying that, and then we're back on the mountain at the camp there and enjoying that. And some days we're hiking, some days we're paddling, some days we're doing both. And it's been really enjoyable, and that's how I want to live my days. So, talking about my plans, I probably shouldn't do that and just share my life as it's unfolding. But that might be even harder to follow. I don't really know. So sorry for the confusion, folks. But we're not moving south, not any time. And we're considering keeping the camp now, even. Because I don't need to sell it. So I don't really know what we're going to do. So I guess you're just going to have to follow along and watch it unfold. Yeah, why don't we just do that? Well, today I'm going to try and get a handle on things. And I mean that literally. When my brother and I were up at the New York cabin digging that trench for the wire for the solar, I had mentioned we did that by hand, and we broke a shovel. I was disappointed with this. This was a Husky brand from Home Depot, and this was a piece of junk. It was a piece of junk. As you can see, it didn't last, and we weren't prying on it, using it as a pry bar. It just broke. So I'm going to try and get some more life out of it. I'll cut this, and then knock this pin out, drill that wood out, see if I can get that in there. And if it doesn't want to go in, because this is tapered, then maybe I will try to make a handle out of some steel pipe or something. But I'm going to see what I can do about that. And then when I was up in New York at the cabin, I found my PEAVEY. This thing is worth its weight in gold if you work in the woods. If you're cutting trees down and you're going to cut them up into firewood, working with logs, this is, it's a must-have. You've got to have it. I see people, they cut a tree down and then they use their chainsaw and they cut from the top down, top down, top down, and they drive that chain right into the dirt. Don't do that. Don't do that. What you want to do is you cut the tree down and then you make slices. Just don't go all the way through it if the log is laying in the dirt. And then you roll it over with a PEAVEY. That's what this is made for. It's for rolling timbers. Roll it over and then dive into the slot that you had made before, which is now on the bottom of the log, and cut upward and finish the job. And that'll keep your chain sharp. The handle broke a long time ago, and then somewhere along the way I crossed paths with this, and this is broken right there, but it's got the same configuration here. So I'm going to cut this kind of rotted end off and try and fit that back in there, and maybe, oh, it's got a hole already. I can put a bolt or something through it. Now, this tool, here's a little bit of backwoods history for you. This is called a PEAVEY. It was named after the guy that invented it. Joseph Peavey was this woodsman back in the day up in Maine, and he invented this in the 1850s. And this was used, and similar tools like this with longer handles were used by the river drivers, you know, when they were running the timber down the rivers. Now that's when men were men and loggers were tough. Nowadays, it's a different breed, and they sit in the mechanized machinery there and pull levers and push buttons. And it's a whole different breed of people nowadays. But back then, these guys were tough. So Joseph Peavey came up with a must-have for working in the woods. looks like there's a metal rod running right up the center there. So I got to get all the wood away from that and then drill a hole in the butt end of the new handle, the new old handle, before I reinsert it. Yeah, I cut the end off and drilled a hole for that rod to go up into. Well, the handle doesn't look like it actually belongs on there, but it's awful close. And it'll get us a little bit more use out of it, I hope. There, all fixed. All right, man, looks like mission accomplished once again. It's most certainly not as good as a brand new handle, but it'll get me back in the game. I'm so glad that I found this. I've had this PEAVEY for probably 40 years, 35, 40 years. I have had that long. And then the handle broke, and I was intending on getting another one, and then I come across this used one at a dump, I guess. I don't remember where I found it. And then, I don't know, I lost the darn thing. Got buried in the back of a shed. But it's back in the game now, and I think it's going to be fine. It seems to fit really decent. And I put a lag in there. Yeah, and I always put fluorescent tape on the tools that I use out in the woods. And it's kept me from losing them. I used to paint them, but the paint wears off. It doesn't work as good. But my little Hudson Bay hatchet, my loppers, everything that I use out in the woods gets some tape on it. And a lot of times I'll use the bright blue stuff, because blue is, except for flowers, it's an unnatural color in the woods, and it really stands out. And that's why the loggers, or the foresters I should say, spray the blue spray paint on the trees. So anyway, we're supposed to get some rain later, so I think I'm going to put the shovel project off, do that another day, and get the chainsaw fueled up and go down on the hillside and cut some more wood. Gotta make some sawdust. It's been a while. Ha! So really, I mean, I got more firewood than I need here, but about a stack and a half will finish that cube, and then it'll be the way that I want it. So, I guess that'll be it for now, folks. I have been filming a lot of different projects, how-tos, and I'm going to be building a couple more of my composting toilets, and I'm going to be doing a how-to step-by-step for that. And I've got some more ideas for mutilating the stainless steel stock pots like I did before, and I made the cool rocket stove and other stuff. So I talked about changing the name of my channel, and I also talked about just starting a new channel for the how-tos, and I'm kind of leaning back towards starting a new channel. But I will make an announcement when that stuff is back in action. All right, folks, that's it for now. All the best to you, and God bless.
Frankie and the boss out walking in the woods, living life happy and free. Tracks in the snow everywhere they go, there's a pokey way up in that tree. A beaver built a pond where they have some fun, taking life a day at a time. Best friends until the end, Frankie and the boss, Frankie and the boss, Frankie and the boss.